Alright, so this video is to show you how to do logotypes in Illustrator. We're mostly going to use the Pathfinder window and also the character window. So from the example block that I showed, I've pulled three of the logos that I'm going to show you how we can make in Illustrator, and then I've also set up another example. So for the D and K combination, I used a sans serif font, it's Futura, and you can see that it has very similar vertical lines in it. So the size of the D and the K, the stems are very similar. So that allows for a really nice mashup. And that might be similar with Myriad Pro or Helvetica, any of the sans serif fonts. So in Illustrator, I used a line of text, right? So I click once and type, then I change the font. I can explore it and find one that I like, right from the type tool or up at the top. So to be able to manipulate it, and if you think it's something that you like, you might copy, Command C, paste, Command V, and have a copy of it somewhere. The first step is going to be create outlines. So type create outlines, and what that does is it now makes your text a vector. So I can no longer change this to another letter. You can see when it's text, I have a line under it, and I can come in with my text tool and I could change it to an E or a D. This is no longer text. I can't use my text tool on it. It's actually a vector shape that I can manipulate, and the same with the K. So at this point, I'm going to line up the bottom so I can eyeball it, or most importantly in this, it's going to be perfect alignments. If you select more than one, so I can shift click between them, and these are my alignment tools. The line on the bottom is vertical align bottom. Oops. There's setting here, align to selection or align to artboard. We're going to use align to selection, so I want the D and the K to align to each other, and you can see now they're aligned on the bottom together. Okay, so this looks pretty similar to the original, except that this one is a little wider. So what I'm going to do is use my white arrow tool, and I'm going to grab the top and the left, and I'm going to go ahead and move it all the way to the top, so now the widest is what's showing. I can also see that this is going into my D a little bit, so maybe I actually want the width to be closer to what the D's is. And we can move it and just make sure. So I can grab both of these. Here's my align, so window align. I'm actually going to align them to top. And then I can see that there's a little, it's not quite even there, so I can bring this. Looks like the one over is going to do it, although it's not quite doing it there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to undo, because every time that I bring it over, my line actually is going into my loop here. So now I'm going to select both, and I am going to Pathfinder Shape Unite. So now I'm making it one shape. So you can see now the overlap is gone, it's all one shape. And at this point I can zoom in, and I can use my path tool to delete this anchor because I don't want that one. And I actually want to bring this line, so I click on it with my white arrow tool, line it up. So now I have as one unit this D and K together. Okay, so I'm using Pathfinder tools and letters to be able to combine to make a solid logotype. Now in this case, I have a P and an O. I'm going to say after doing some in the back, so I can kind of line this up on top. For this font, I am copying it with Garamond, which is something similar. Okay, and we can see what's really nice about this mark is that the whiteness of the O overlaps the stem of the P. So the first step is I'm going to go ahead and copy, Command C, Command V, a copy of the text, so if I screw it up, I can start over. Next step, type, create outlines. Alright, so this time, with it selected, I'm going to do Pathfinder Divide. and every place that it overlaps, it's going to break it into its own piece. So now I can click off so it's not highlighted. I can come in with my white arrow and I should be able to grab areas of it. So I can select that inside of the O and actually delete it out. And the same, there's like this little hook there. So other than that, you can see it's filled in here, it's filled in there, it looks good. So now I can select everything again, and I might still have that inside. There, I can delete it. Select everything again. This time shape mode unite, and now it's all one unit again. And so when it's one unit, I could use my eyedropper, grab the P, and now I have one unit that I can change colors for. Okay, for this L and A, this is a blocky Egyptian slab font, so I'm using Rockwell. And again, I'm going to grab once I find letters I like, Command-C, copy, Command-V, paste, make a copy just in case I want to go back. So I can see in this one that it has an extended bottom part of this L, and also on the A, the serif has been removed. So I'm going to take, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of line up the A as best I can as well. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. Select them both, type, create outlines. Again, that makes it a path. So this L is going to go ahead and be the stem of the A. And I'm going to go ahead and make this a different color so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to bring the L, so object arrange, bring to front. So I'm going to use my white direct selection tool, and I'm going to grab the nodes, top, right, and bottom. So now I can, and you can see that didn't quite work, so I'm going to undo Command-Z, and I'm going to grab this point too. I'm holding down Shift so that it doesn't move up or down on me. I didn't quite get it again. So I want to make sure that I have this point selected, and let me zoom in so you can see a little better. So when it's not selected, the points are white. When they are selected, they're blue, so I'm shifting, shifting, shifting. So now I have those points selected, and if I grab on the edge, it actually is expanding these lines. Okay, so I have that spread out the way I want. Now, we can see we want to get rid of the serif. So a nice way to do that is we can take a diagonal and we can actually, I'm going to give it a stroke color of red and a fill of nothing. And I'm going to take this line and I'm going to draw it so that it would continue up following, and I might do 0.25 so it's thin, following that A. Then I'm going to do the same on this side. Alright, so then on the blue, I now know if these serifs were gone where it would overlap. So I'm going to come in with my pen tool, make it a plus, and I'm going to click on my blue shape right where they intersect. You can see my blue is still what's highlighted. Alright, so now I can move my red lines because they were just for guidance, and you can see I have that node there. So now I can come in and use my negative anchor point. I'm going to delete these anchors that I don't need. So now I've connected and I've made a new shape with my A so I don't have the serifs. I'm going to make this the same color. And then I can use the Pathfinder and unite them, and they're now one unit. And that's pretty similar to this LA logo. Alright, so one more example. Here is a big serif Egyptian slab, again, Rockwell B. So I'm going to say type, create outlines. And in this technique, I want to create a solid shape. So I'm going to come in with my white arrow, and I'm going to grab the white counterforms and delete them. So now I have this one big solid V. Now in contrast, I have this feminine curvy K, and I am going to make it white and say type create outlines. And I'm going to move it on top and kind of have it replace where the counterform was. And you can see that starts to create a really nice effect of this KB combination. So this is one of the combinations I'd like you to try. And you can say divide here, and actually in this case, I'm deleting what, let me show you before I do that. So let's say I put a square behind this, and my square is pink, and I'm going to say object arrange them to back. So what I really want my logo is not to hang over, right? I want it to look like it ends or it's see-through. So to do that, I would select both, and I could say divide. Now I could delete just the hangover. So maybe in this case, I like that. Or maybe I want to delete the whole white out of the black. So now I could even have the opposite. And I would use my white select arrow to grab that other piece again and make it white as well. Okay, and you'd want to unite the pieces so that it moves as one unit. Right, so hopefully that gives you some ideas and some examples of how to use the Pathfinder aligning in the character tool.